The Raw ratings are in, and it's downtown, but it's not as much as I thought it was, WWE. So Triple H, turn that frown upside down, or I say frown, turn that nose upside down, and maybe it would get stuck to the ceiling, but won't back to Fog Wrestling. And you know what? It was a taped edition of Raw. One can only assume that Monday Night Raw was going up against nothing, because some crazy stuff must have been. I mean, last week you had the pay-per-view after Bad Blood. You mean you had Rock appearing at the end. I mean, I get it. You also had a bit of hype surrounding Big Bill Goldberg. So I'm actually surprised that this week's did just a little bit less, but we may as well get into it. So Raw averaged 1.539 million viewers for the USA Network. That's according to Wade Keller. Oh, remember they got it wrong? Haha. It's according to everybody. It's legit, but I remember that a few weeks ago, man. They got it wrong. Big Dave and the Sad Brigade, man, shite in the bed. Now this viewership was slightly down from last week's 1.545 million. So it's down like 6,000 people. As I said at the start, you know, we're not going to... Normally when there's a big decrease, I whip out the red arrows for the thumbnail, but this is a yellow arrow day. And as I said, I mean, that is nothing really. 6,000 people is nothing. It may be the amount that tunes in the Dynamite these days, but in reality, 6,000 is not a lot of money. Well, it's not a lot. Well, I mean, it's a decent sized amount of money. Like, I mean, you wouldn't want to lose $6,000 at the end of the day, but in terms of 6,000 viewers, you're not going to notice it. As for the demographic, it was actually down 0.03, which is a bit of a bigger number, to be honest. But interestingly to note, the second hour did better than the first hour, which in 3-hour Raws, that's completely unthinkable. But of course, we're a 2-hour Raw now. And a key comparison is that this time last year, on the 16th of October 2023, Raw did a 1.483. So on this time last year, we're actually up 56,000 viewers. How about those apples? So that just goes, all these Mark Screen, oh, there's not enough time on the show for them to get their stuff in. Well, you know what? Not enough time for the... Well, you know what? The ratings are up from when it was a 3-hour show, despite it being a shitey taped edition. So how about you know your role, jabroni, and shut your mouth? And I tell you what, Gunther can try and get up Cody Rhodes' arse cheeks, but I tell you what, the clip didn't draw that well. I mean, it did 474k, but you know what? That's pish, and that's all down to Cody Rhodes. So I'll put a wee bit of respect on Cody Rhodes' name, because see when it's Gunther talking with Sami Zayn, he's about the 10th rated clip. Now this week, I believe he's in 3rd spot. Numero uno was Jey Uso refusing to speak to Jimmy Uso. Obviously, there was a few question marks. Like, hey, you want to rejoin the Bloodline, brother? You want to be in line to the Tribal Chief, even though we spent about 2 years going against the Tribal Chief? Is that what you want to do? Jay, how about those apples, big man? That actually got 1 million views, so it just shows you the Bloodline. People care. Then we had Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan taking on Ripley and Tiffany Stratton. 612,000 viewers. Then the Cody Rhodes Gunther stuff. After that, we had R-Truth beating The Miz. After that, we had Jey Uso helping Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. After this, we had pretty much the women again, but in the beatdown segment. Then we had Tiffany Stratton agreeing to team with Rhea Ripley. 258. Then we had the War Raiders dismantling the Alpha Academy in the #1 contenders tournament. Oh, the War Raiders. People are pretending Triple H is the man. Oh, Vince McMahon called them the Viking Experience, and because they're called the War Raiders, they're automatically better. Yo, I'm not going to lie, right? Obviously, names mean something in WWE. If Austin was called Antifreeze or whatever he was supposed to be called in 95 or 96, it would never have fucking worked, alright? It would, but... You know, the Viking Raiders or the Viking Experience, switching between those two names and then going to War Raiders doesn't change the fact it's two fat, out of shape, greasy, Scandinavian fucking jobbers. Alright? Well, cosplaying Scandinavians, they're not actually Scandinavian. Alright? So, know your role. Then with Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson costing damage control. This did 188k. Then Kofi Kingston against Braun Breaker did 134k. And that's pretty much where we wrap it up here, because nothing else drew a damn. Everything else was a Raw exclusive. So Raw, not exactly doing too good. I forgot to mention that the full highlights did 500,000, which again smokes Cody Rhodes and Gunther, and they're actually nowhere near the thumbnail. Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax were actually on the thumbnail, so there you go, Cody. So Cody and Gunther can't draw a dime. Gunther putting over Cody. Oh, Cody. I mean, it just shows the Usos talking to each other backstage, even though Jey Uso technically refused to speak to Jimmy. I mean, outdrew Cody Rhodes and Gunther by more than 500,000. No one cares about Cody Rhodes. He can come out in the suits, and Gunther can come out in the suits, man, and praise Bill Goldberg and hey, Cody, you've done a lot of things, man. Gunther's just cutting the same promo. It's just copy and paste. He lists the person's accolades that he's against, and he's like, but you haven't beat me. You haven't went one-on-one with the nipples. Honestly, no one cares. Gunther, mate, back of the line. As for Cody Rhodes, you fucking suck. Alright, son, reel it in. You're not even a quarter as good as what you think you are. The bloodlines are the true draws, man. You know how you know? Because even when it's fucking Solo and the bandits are free jobbers, the free jobber bandits, their numbers outdraw Cody Rhodes. It's the bloodline. You know what I mean? It's like the NWO, even when it got watered down, man. It's fucking NWO at the end of the day. Probably the exception to the rules of the LWO, because without Rey Mysterio, it's just it's a bunch of who's who. Cosplaying Legado del Fantasmas, switching sides. Everybody knows I'm in the thick of it. Anyway, thick of it, good night. That's where we're going to end this Raw rating. Down, but not as down as I thought it would be. Anyway, till next time. Peace.